We're here to talk about big data, and particularly about how we can harness the power of big data to allow people to improve their services, their reach, their products, and their optimization. I just want to quickly start by asking my panelists to introduce themselves so we can get an idea of what aspect of big data they work with before we delve into the topic a little bit further. So I'm going to start with you, Dirk.
Yeah, hi. So I'm working for Criteo for roughly 6 years, and what we do is performance marketing, mainly for e-commerce companies. So literally, we are not just starting to deal with big data or being challenged with big data. Data has been the core of our business from the first day, the first second that we have been founded. It's a lot about delivering relevant ads and predictions. So it's literally whatever we do is all about real-time data analytics, and with the core goal to deliver the most relevant ad in a given moment to a user.
Thanks a lot. Really nice summary. Nazim, can you give us a little bit of information about what you do in EMC and what kind of brands and clients you work with also?
My name is Nazim Fraijat. I manage EMC Corporation in Levant and Emerging Africa. EMC is a company of 5 federation companies, EMC and VMware, and one of them is a company that we have built and dedicated for real-time data analytics and agile mobile development. Definitely we see this is one of our vehicles to the third platform technologies, and the response from customers in terms of transforming their business models, adapting a digital agenda transformation, it's been amazing. And honestly, we're not able to cope up with the demands that are coming from the market. Our traditional market segmentation is the biggest industries, traditionally as EMC, telco and financial sector and public sector. But on the third platform, we see a major disruption, and we see that our market reach has expanded from logistics companies to media companies, and that's because of the disruptive technologies that are happening.
Thanks, Nazim.
Thank you.
Thibault, can you give us a summary of what you do and who you work with also?
Yeah. I am working for Radium One. Radium One is an high-tech company created in San Francisco, and we use big data. We use programmatic advertising to connect brands to their new customer. That's why I will talk today about predictive data and how we can, do branding with programmatic and advertising and with big data.
So with us today, we have someone who handles performance marketing. We have someone who handles big data in the sense of real-time data analytics. And we have also Thibault, who handles brands and marketing and performance marketing as well. Now, before we start delving into this topic, can I just, with a show of hands, anyone who's familiar with big data, the topic of big data, obviously not the technology of big data, raise your hands really high so we can just really quickly see you. So more than half of the panel is familiar with the topic of big data. That's a good start. So just during your introductions, you guys said some really important keywords that I think are important to clarify. So the first one was real-time intelligence, or delivering relevance through real-time analytics. I want to start with you and just quickly jump and see what other real-time aspects can we talk about. What is real-time data analytics, and what is the importance of real-time analysis of big data?
So number one, I'm not surprised a lot of people raised their hands. I mean, literally big data amongst programmatic and RTB is like one of the buzzwords that is kind of following us for the past years. It's a lot about said about that, but the past years also I've met a lot of frustrated faces because everyone is talking about it, but it's not necessarily creating value immediately for everyone in the industry.
Okay.
So coming to your point in terms of real time, when you look into the marketing world, it's very interesting because when you look back, years back even, it's all about creating target groups. When you look even in the US, and there was a very interesting article 2 years back in the Financial Times when it was about Mathmen versus Madmen, that the traditional madmen in the US, the whole industry behind it, advertising, the media, are getting frightened because the way they were working is that, for instance, for a big automotive company, they were giving the briefing beginning of a given year. Then an agency started working on the advertising, on creating the TV ad, etc. And by the end of the year, when all the automotive companies were releasing their new products, that's when that ad has been shown. So in terms of real time, at that time, there was a gap of like 10 months in between the idea and the briefing until the ad has been delivered.
Creation of the campaign.
So clearly, this is becoming a completely different world today, and online has massively pushed that and driven it. So today, it's really about delivering the most relevant ad in any case. If you do branding as well, if you do performance marketing, of course, that's where it started. And by collecting as fresh and accurate data as possible, you're able in real time to make the decision for an ad impression that you get, which ad do you want to place, and what's the content of an ad. So at Criteo, we served last year about 740 billion ads, right? So if you take that right now, that would be about 56 million ads during this panel that we are serving. So what does that mean? If every single ad is customized, it's not pre-produced, it shows you how real-time is working there and how accurate the information must be that you're using in order to show a relevant ad. And all of that, in real time enables you to, deliver, the most appropriate message to your customer in that moment.
Thanks for that. Nazim, you mentioned that you primarily, or that majority of your revenue is telco and financial entities based, or I mean, at least that's the history. Is it because telcos and banks have the most amount of data? I mean, or is it because there's a cost to maintenance kind of justification to it?
No, I mentioned that our traditional business as EMC is on the telco and finance, but with the big data and the third platform, we're addressing much bigger market. Now, the reason for the traditional business is because of the core business that EMC used to be the core business, which is the mission critical business continuous solutions. On the third platform, it's a completely different ballgame. I think to maybe answer your initial remark is, I think what's happening is the whole capital system was built on B2B business model, which based on fixed asset versus fixed assets. So for example, a company like EMC would go to Arab Bank or to any bank, and they know their financial report, they know who's the CEO, who's the CIO, who's all of this. And as a result, we look at their business plans and we develop products that helps them achieve that. So we become relevant to them as a vendor. Now with the massive growth, in the C part instead of the B part, the C is consumers, it's us, So if I don't know you, I have no way of targeting you and develop products to you, Now, what is the problem here? The problem, or the enabler actually, is social networking. Every big enterprise had traditional data. If you're a telco, you have the billing application, you have the CRM application. If you're a bank, you have the core banking application, you have all the rest. And these are historical data, Now, banks do not change their plans, real time. They change it once a year. They have a board meeting, they decide on their business, and then they announce it and becomes public. But if the C, my customer, is you, and you are changing on daily basis, I need to be able to collect all this information as much as possible about you, real time, and know exactly what you want to do, and try to influence the outcome of your actions, Now, the problem was that 1% of all the information in the world was being recorded only, So for example, at this moment, we have this camera, it's recording the panel. But actually, the people in the room are maybe 100 times the size of the panel. And there are so many actions are taking place. He's touching his laptop, he's touching his mobile, this guy is talking.
They're tweeting, saying how boring we are.
So if you can collect all this information, which is much, much more than what's being recorded, and we analyze all these details, your names, your actions, the way you look, where you're coming from, what time you came, what time, then we can really influence some certain actions, So yes, real time is needed big time on the C sector. When you talk about consumers, when you when you have a woman in a house, that is your target customer, and you don't know if she's married, you don't know if she's working, you don't know how much is her income, you don't know if she's happy today, she's not happy. As a result, if you don't know all this information, you're going to be designing common solutions. And this basically explains why today the biggest companies in the world is not on the fixed asset companies. They are not AT&T. It's not General Electric. Okay? Today it's Apple, it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook. The C part. The C part became much bigger than the B part. And anybody who built this business model on the B part, he is irrelevant to the C unless they make a huge transformation very quickly based on the new business model.
Okay, I want to capitalize on the transformation concept, and I want to jump to Thibaut and try to get an example from you and how you help brands transform or kind of change the way they talk to the consumers by analyzing this data and by optimizing it as well. Just to, I want to just keep on trying to giving different examples to our audience so we can try to cover big data from multiple facets before we break it down.
In fact, first, we need to analyze the audience of the clients.
Okay.
That is the beginning, and how we analyze the audience of the clients. We have some tools to collect, the habits, the behavior of your audience when the people navigate on internet, but navigate in the real-time life, with geolocalization, for example. And with all this data and with sharing, we can create a persona of the audience, of the clients. Okay. And then, with this persona, we'll try to, with a lot of parameters, we'll try to find same people, we say lookalike or clone, and then we'll target these people, this clone, in fact. Typically, for example, for people who, it was for Air France. Air France wanted to target people who travel a lot. What we have done, we have do some geolocalization of some airports, Dubai, Paris, and we have seen, okay, each people who go to this gate of these airports could be a good client for Air France, and we have targeted these people. Yeah.
That's a great example. I want to ask all three of you if you can give us also some examples about things that you don't think about that actually use big data on a day-to-day basis, like streaming music, recommendations. Can you just list some aspects of things that utilize it in such a subtle way that it's almost, if I want to say intuitive for the consumer experience or for the behavior? What industries are recently jumping on board with big data? We spoke about banking, we spoke about telco, we spoke about retail. Are there other entities that are jumping on board? What do they get out of it, and what experiences or how can they transform their businesses by utilizing big data? Is actually the question I want to answer.
I think generally it could be anyone, right? As it has been said already before, there is massive data available, and not just now that we're talking about it, or for the past years. There was always a lot of data available, and I think just for the the past years, generally with the further digitalization, all the different industries started to being able to use that data actually, and the really important thing here is it's not only the access to data, but it's like the competence and the technology in order to process the data and use it properly, okay, so that it adds value, right? We had a chat earlier, and one thing I mentioned is I'm living in Dubai, and my community just has introduced in every single entrance and exit cameras, right? And those cameras are several ones. One is literally filming everyone coming in and out, but it's also automatic car plate registration, and that is a live stream to the civil defense department, to the police. So they know in live, all the time which cars are, where in Dubai and what's happening. So you can see that, has an impact on every single part of our life when it comes to security, but again also, back here to, shopping experiences, to marketing, etc. And as I said, I think the key is the quality of data, but then really the competence and technology behind it that you need to actually crunch the data, to understand it and to process it, that it actually adds value.
Do you believe this is one of the biggest challenges that people face when they say, I want to jump on board of a big data database, or I want to put my data on the cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember just a couple of years back, right, when we started with discussions about programmatic advertising and RTB. And I remember one panel that I was in.
RTB is real-time bidding for
Yeah, that I was in when it just started, you know, then in Europe, and I was sitting next to gentlemen, you know, from big agencies that clearly were saying at that point, the biggest challenge that they had was literally the workforce, right? They had a lot of great competence and people good in, you know, selling and buying media and, you know, with the networks, relationships, etc. But now dealing with data, which is in real-time bidding and programmatic trading, a key point as well. You know, and then coming back to my previous point, it's a lot about now math men, analytic guys, technology guys, rather than creative people, etc. Right? And clearly, for the companies that have not been built for, you know, utilizing and using data, they are challenged right now mainly to get the right workforce and to get the technology.
So you might need to restructure yourself internally if you want to be able to deliver or cater for it.
You see that with a lot of companies that are doing this, right? And again, looking at advertising, looking at Microsoft over the past years, they have completely restructured from a very brand-focused initiative, also how their teams were built up, to a full programmatic setup right now. And this is completely changing the industry, I would say, and everyone is adapting already for the past few years.
Okay, Nazim, I want to ask you again in the context of challenges. You work with you know, multiple service providers, and I think the first point of entry for you would be a chief technology officer or chief information officer or a head of IT. Who do you usually start with, and what are the challenges that you face when dealing with you know, the C-suite or the management of a company when you're coming in and saying, I'm going to transform your business?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, because traditionally, EMC we're one of the biggest companies in the IT.
Yes.
It's like 65,000 employees, $67 billion market. Our traditional business was in the IT. So the IT is our friends. The CIO, most of the CIOs of all the telcos, all the banking, all the enterprise are very close to us, to our sales team, to our management.
Okay.
When the big data third platform transformation starts happening, we addressed it in the normal way. So we went to our friends. And reality, because this is a solution that transforms the business, it needs to start there. Okay? So one of the main challenges in this is when you want to transform any business, you need to disrupt this business. And when you want to disrupt this business, you disrupt the technology, you disrupt the processes, you disrupt even the quality of the people that you have, okay? And for that, you need somebody who sees the business impact to overrule everybody. Because if you're gonna wait until everybody is convinced of the outcome of this mission, you're gonna miss the boat. You're gonna be too late to the market where somebody else is gonna disrupt you, okay? So that is the main, I would say, a challenge.
So your recommendation would be to unify the strategy and bring everybody on board and align on the objectives before they initiate the transformation. 100%.
I mean, in all the business transformation projects that we have worked on, for the first time, we're really sitting with the boards. So this is the first time we really, you need to address the board. You need to address the investors, okay, and convince them of the challenges that their industry is facing. And then how you're able to transform this business. You asked about example. I don't want to bore you with examples, but the examples are really, really amazing. I will use maybe a couple of examples. We're working with a logistics company that basically are being challenged with the newcomers and the new startups that can operate and achieve the last mile deliveries at much, much more lower cost. Okay? So because this company, like any other company, was based on the B2B business model, they cannot compete with these new startups. Okay? And these new startups are more agile.
But just to clarify and bring it back to relevance to big data, can they not compete with these small startups because these small startups have more data about the consumers than the logistics because they have less data? Or is it because of other reasons also?
Not really. The challenge for big data is for the big guys, not the small guys. Okay, the small guy doesn't need it. He has like maybe 30 scooters, delivers the delivery on this small area. So he doesn't, and he knows this, he becomes close to his customer and he uses them personally. But if you were talking about an enterprise big company with millions of customers, okay, they need this data in order for them to do the business transformation. So what they did is basically said, let's build big data, okay, and let's transform our model. And immediately it was evident that their competitor is actually their partner. Okay, so now they started partnering with these new startups, link them to the app, and through the use of real-time data analytics, they can still guarantee the quality, okay, and they can really understand exactly who these guys are. So this is just a small example. In the banking industry, the CEO of BBV, which is the largest bank in Spain, he announced that his number one competitor as a bank, okay, is Amazon and Google, okay, for the bank. Now, why? I mean, why would they have, as a bank, would have this issue? Okay, bank has his customers, he knows them, he sells them products, okay, he gives them loan. Well, through the real-time data analytics use cases, okay, Google launched something called P2P, which means I can lend you real-time now $10,000, and I make commission on it, okay, like 2-3%, and you return them after 1 week. Okay, this is a segment or a new business model that the banks will never touch it. Okay, and if this model continues its success, yes, the banks are at risk. Okay, the banks are too expensive. What's the cost of Google for this? Nothing.
And do you think this is only they're only capable of doing this because of the fact that they have the advantage of big data?
Absolutely, because how can I give you money if I don't know you? Now I know you. Okay. I know all the details about you.
Dirk, you wanted to interject.
Yeah, just actually to the point before, because you were asking like the advantage of data and big data even in logistics.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, the guys that are disrupting it or becoming competitive to the big traditional logistic companies are my clients, so all the e-commerce players, right? Yes. The reason when I ask them why are they setting up their own logistics, it's certainly for quality reasons. I mean, in a lot of countries that I'm working with my clients, if it's Russia or even Middle East, quality is not given yet. But a big thing, and there were very interesting things and answers I got, was for instance the logistic person that is delivering the package, right, with the new pair of shoes or the dress, is becoming a salesperson as well. So
he's the face
I have
that they encounter, right?
That are running now their own delivery groups, and they are equipped with tablets. So when they go to deliver a package, they have data and information in real time about the person that they're delivering this package to. They know what this person has ordered previously as well, and they can do upselling literally in front of the door because of that information, and they get commission. So if they do a good delivery in terms of quality, if they actually manage to sell well, because a big problem of e-commerce is the return rates, and if the delivery guy can sell well and manage that the return rates are decreasing, then that's great for everyone, and he gets a commission as well. He's only able to do that because he has that information at hand at that right time.
Okay. Before I turn to the audience and see if they have any questions, I want to cover the topic of privacy, paranoia, concern, security. I mean, 10 years ago, if somebody told us, somebody's going to be logging in everywhere you've been, whatever you've looked for, everybody you've called, etc., we'd freak out. Now we line up, in front of stores and pay $100 for phones that do just that. Is this going to get better, worse? I mean, again, the terms better or worse are quite relative, but in terms of consumer data and being able to control your own data, should there be a concern? We're in an emerging market. I think we're the last people who think about privacy and security, but it's not a bad idea to at least throw that idea at you and see what you have to think about, or what historically has happened in emerging markets that are no longer emerging, or any concerns or regulations that you guys personally take into consideration or recommend to your brands when it comes to data security and privacy, given that there's big data, and with big data comes big risks.
So with big data comes big responsibilities, I would say. And
I mean, I'll give you the example of the Uber God mode that kind of came out a couple of years ago. It scares people, right?
I was actually getting a bit scared when I was listening previously to
how he's
the aim. Like, okay, we should actually collect all the information of everyone in this room and all the calls and text messages that are being done right now. No, but I think there's a few things. Number one. We are old already, and in terms of
we're older.
A lot of the consumers today, so they actually are much more open to share, right? When you just look at the social media, what they are sharing like crazy. So, they are more open, less concerned in general to share more private things. Secondly, again, and we are an advertising company, so I can mainly talk about advertising. Of course, here we had a few experiences. So on the one hand, running highly customized ad, right? So we were tracking shopping behavior, and we were able to show you an ad with exactly the products that you have looked at a few seconds before only, right? So when we started with this a couple of years back, users were getting quite scared maybe in the beginning because they
Because you feel like you're stalked, right?
What's happening there, right? And indeed, in the media and the press, there was a lot about stalking or whatever. But it was mainly because people didn't understand, right? And that's why, coming back to the point in terms of responsibility, we, from the first moment that we served an ad, even though it was not standard in advertising at that time, we always had a little icon in every single banner that the user could click on, and they get information about why they have seen this ad with the respective products in it, how does it work, and they could opt out as well. So you give the user the chance to control it, right? So at least in terms of advertising, this is a very important step, and that you have seen globally now the whole industry, adapting as well.
Okay, Thibault, any comments on privacy, security?
No, but privacy, but just what I wanted to maybe to add is concerning big data. I mean, it's important to collect, but we need to collect good data. If you don't use the data, you don't need to collect. That's why, again, we talk about big data. I prefer to talk about smart data, because typically, if you collect the data but you don't use in real time this data, you don't need to collect this data.
So don't collect data you're never going to use, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And last things, and typically I wanted to give you an example. I mean, what is the value of Spotify or Pandora? Typically, it's not to have access of all the inventory of the music. In fact, the reality is it's because Spotify will provide you the good song in the good context, and that is the value, I mean, of the big data. Is not to have a lot of data, is to provide you smart data and the good data in real time, in the good moment. Yeah.
Thanks,
for the
Thibault.
good people.
Audience questions?
I would like to comment on
Please,
this one,
and in the
because-
meantime, just let me see show of hands of questions, otherwise we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Hands, please, questions? Please keep going.
Yeah. So I think this is a very important question, and it's a bit of a controversial question, to be honest. So I have two answers for it. An answer.
Okay, you're going to contradict your own self now.
Yes.
Okay.
One answer, as the manager of EMC.
Yes.
Okay. We own the largest security company in the world, which is called RSA.
Okay.
And we have the most advanced technologies to protect and secure data. That's the pure mission. But reality, based on the disruption that we're seeing,
Yes.
okay, all the regulators around the world are trying to protect the data. They're trying to adapt their rules and regulations to protect this data. My personal opinion, which is the second, okay,
As a consumer, as a human
as a
being
consumer,
living
as
and
somebody
roaming
who's been in
around.
this industry and saw the industry impact, there is no privacy anymore. It's over.
That's it.
That's it. There is no security. I'll tell you why. In the past, when the B2B model, okay, there were organizations that would sit down and draw together the laws, and the regulator will take this and impose it as a
Enforce
law.
it.
How can you impose a law on you? This is the market, okay? That's it. The law in Lebanon and in all of the emerging markets is not to store any data outside the country.
That is the law.
That's the law.
Is that a Lebanese law?
That's everybody's law. The UAE law, the Lebanese law, everything.
Do not store data.
Do not store data outside the country.
Isn't that the opposite of what's happening?
Exactly. Nobody is stopping organization from storing on Amazon.
I mean, apart from the
Okay.
European Commission
Even the
law
European, I'm telling you, the power moved with this transformation. The power moved from governments, organizations to the people.
Let me
Okay.
pause you there and just quickly see who agrees on this. Who doesn't want their data to be used for any reason whatsoever? Show of hands. Okay. Who has no problem as long as they're not personally identifiable? Who doesn't really care? Okay, what else is there? Because I still see about a quarter of the... so what else? Anybody? Anybody feels anything else? Used or stored? It has to be stored to be used, right?
Yeah. I think any time you get benefits, more benefits from exposing your privacy, okay?
More benefits as in register and win?
Like, for example, you get more services, you get better marketing, you are willing to give up. I'll give you an example on the phone. We all know that phone calls, most of it around the world, are recorded, right?
Yes.
But because you want to use the phone, because of the benefit, you will use it. Okay?
Okay.
You know, Facebook and all the other sites, legally, the moment you say yes, you are giving them the right to sell your data.
Yes.
Why do people put their private pictures there? Why they put these secrets on the internet? Because there is a return. The return might not be financially. Okay? They start sharing more and more. So it's a balance between the benefits you get, how much you're going to give up of your privacy. And the end result is, I think, the show of hands today just
Kinda tells you,
just
yeah?
proved it. Okay,
Most people don't care.
Yes, because of the in return. Okay, tell them to stop all their Facebook accounts now. Okay, they will not. You know. So that's what I think.
Well, I mean, thanks for clarifying it, and I think the audience also helped us clarify. I don't think there should be, or there is a big concern about the protection of data. I don't have any more questions, and I think the audience is equally satisfied. Is any question? Oh, great. Can we have a microphone on the first row in the middle, please?
Hi, I'm Nada.
Hi, Nada.
I'd like to ask about, like, lately we've been talking about data and information.
Closer to the mic.
Yeah, sorry. Where is knowledge?
Where
Like,
is
we're
knowledge?
not talking about knowledge. I mean, globally, is there any emphasis on knowledge, or they forgot about it? We're only, like, talking about data, then putting the data in
As an
context.
experience?
Yeah, I mean, like, when data is put in context, it's information. Then we need synergy, so that information will become knowledge. So we're only focusing on data. Where is knowledge? Where is the chief knowledge officer that we don't, I mean, like, we all forgot about knowledge.
I don't think we forgot about knowledge. I think.
No, I
obviously
mean,
the guys
like,
were-
globally, is there an emphasis on this topic, or we always hear about data? Where is knowledge?
So is it the data analysis that you're referring to, looking at the data and coming up with?
Yeah, so are we going, like, going up the stairs to reach knowledge, or we are satisfied with data?
Okay.
No, I mean, this is what I mentioned earlier. I mean, it's absolutely a very good point. It's not only about collecting the data, but having also the right knowledge in terms of workforce, even internally, people that are able to use the data, transform the data into something that adds value, right? And in our case, I mean, we're going beyond that. Of course, a lot now is even in terms of machine learning, but who is programming the machines, right? It's people with a certain knowledge.
For
right?
now.
So, yeah, for now. So, actually, and I keep, you know, during the past years when I was presenting, I kept showing my favorite graph, and that was actually about the workforce at Criteo, which is an iceberg, right? So the most important people doing everything and making whatever we do
Are under
is
the water.
the ones that you don't see, right? The most, you know, stupid ones are the ones that you actually see, like me on stage talking. The other ones that really make a difference are
crunching the data and doing the analysis.
engineers, are data analytic guys, etc., that are, you know, using their knowledge to make use of the data. And that, again, is also one of the biggest challenges. Today, there's, you know, trillions of terabyte or whatever of data technically available. Without the knowledge and technology, again, together, there is no use of it.
Great.
Yeah.
Other questions?
It's a very good point. It's the big data is the platform to dump and collect data. Knowledge is exactly what he said, is how you build a use case that is transform this into knowledge and a business impact. One of the biggest big data projects in the world is taking place now in Dubai, with Dubai Smart City. We're talking about
happiness
privacy.
factor?
Okay, let me tell you about privacy. Yeah? What this project is all about is putting the whole government data in public. So developers can go and start analyzing this data. Definitely, we're not talking about the most classified security, national security data. This is off limit. But everything else.
So what are we talking about? Government employees showing up on time, what time they clocked in, what time they clocked out,
Yeah,
how much money they're making?
Yeah, even the government entities, okay?
Okay.
The financial sector, the utility companies, and you go in and you have access to this data and you start developing applications. I think this is a great vision from Dubai, to be honest. This is the first real smart city in the world, because the rest of the smart cities were really silos. Something on transportation sector, something in the logistics sector, okay?
Not really big data since it's isolated.
Not really big data. So that is the role, and that is, I really love this project because it's creating a new economy for people like us, people in the emerging countries, they have the same skills and capabilities that people in the mature countries have. Okay?
Thanks. I need to interrupt you. I have one more question that I need to
okay.
answer. Please go ahead.
You might have heard about the recent case between Apple and the FBI.
Yes.
About the phone. What are your thoughts on the matter, and do you think it's a step forward if the FBI can't get Apple to bypass the security?
Okay, although it's not a big data question, if anybody has a comment on it. So are you guys, is any of you up to date on what's going on with Apple and the FBI? So I think what he's asking about is does a government have the right to force a company to write code that will kind of break the security of a device? And I mean, I don't know if any one of you wants to answer that question.
I will
but
answer
think that's
this
what he's
personal.
asking. It is a personal answer. I
Not
guess,
representing EMC, because EMC has an official stand regarding this. The personal answer is if they manage to do it today, they will not be able to do it tomorrow. Okay? Because
But isn't that the whole point? I mean, precedence is what, if they manage to do it today, they will do it tomorrow, because that's what precedence is,
What
right?
I'm saying is, if today let's say the government managed to force Apple not to do what their consumer wants, okay, tomorrow they will not be able to.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically,
Because
you
the
feel like
driver
more and
here
more the power
is
is
the
going to
seat.
shift in the hands of the consumers.
It's the power totally is in the hands of the consumers. It moved away from IT companies, it moved from governments, it moved from telcos. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we kind of shifted a lot from big data all the way down to privacy into the nitty-gritties, but I really want to thank my three panelists for extremely informative answers. Everything from, discussing the relevance that is driven, to how much data do you really need to collect, to even, looking at real time and how that works, to the transformation, the business intelligence behind big data. Thanks again for Dirk, Henke, Nazim, Fraijat, and Thibaut Nalin for joining me. And if anybody has any more questions for them, you can definitely join them after the panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.